The IRS is just weeks away from the start of a busier-than-usual filing season, but a group of senators is warning that the agency may be stretched too thin to respond to taxpayers' needs. The agency lost about a quarter of its workforce last year and is embarking on a major shakeup of its IT operations. Federal News Network's Jory Heckman is here with more details. Jory, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Terry.
Let's just check everybody's calendar. When does filing season start this year?
Yeah, so mark your calendars. It's going to start on Monday, January 26th, so a matter of weeks from now. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. It's typically in line with when the filing season usually begins, but if you took the word of former IRS Commissioner Billy Long, during his brief tenure at the agency, he said that the filing season this year was going to start in mid-February, giving the IRS workforce more time to prepare for what will be a busier-than-usual filing season, and that's all to do with new provisions stemming from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that became law last year. It's going to create a lot more work for the IRS to update forms and make sure its IT systems are compliant with the tax provisions that are in that bill.
We started talking about that problem actually when the bill passed, about all of the work that IRS was going to have to do to get this season ready, given all the changes in the rules. What concerns do lawmakers have about IRS's preparation for this upcoming filing season?
So just before the holidays late last year, a group of senators, led by Senators Elizabeth Warren and Angus King, they are asking the IRS what exactly they've been doing to prepare for this busier than usual filing season, especially given the fact that the IRS has a lot fewer employees than it did beginning in 2025, that they have seen about a quarter of its workforce leave largely through voluntary separation incentives and retirements, and they have not really done much to backfill those roles. And also pointing out the fact that the IRS had no fewer than 7 acting IRS commissioners last year, just a reflecting of no one really being at the helm of this agency for a significant period of time. And now the IRS is embarking on its biggest task of the year, the filing season.
And they still don't have a confirmed commissioner. Frank Bisignano from Social Security Administration is still overseeing the IRS, right?
That's another curious thing. Bisignano is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer for the IRS, a brand new role. There's never been one of those before. Seemingly overseeing the day-to-day operations of the IRS while simultaneously overseeing the Social Security Administration. And Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is at this point the acting IRS Commissioner. So it's not really clear where the responsibilities for one role begin and the responsibilities for another role end.
The IRS's internal IG has been looking at this, right? What have they got to say about how prepared IRS is for the season?
Right. So a Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration report recently found that these staffing cuts will more likely than not make it more difficult for the IRS to detect fraud, to process tax returns, and to provide tax help to people over the phone or in person at its taxpayer assistance centers. And the National Taxpayer Advocate, Erin Collins, last summer came to a lot of the same conclusions. She said that last year's filing season was largely successful because a lot of those cuts had yet to materialize during that period of time. But this filing season is going to be a different story, that there's just not enough employees at the agency to cover all of its responsibilities and to man the phones and to ensure that taxpayers have the level of service that they have come to expect from the agency.
Has the IRS publicly stated anything about how prepared it is or how it is preparing?
So there was some hiring that went on last year to account for especially the phone service side of the agency, although not as many employees have been hired as the IRS said in its fiscal 2026 budget requests. In that document, they said that they would need to hire about 11,000 employees to maintain their current level of phone service. And if they weren't able to do that, then the level of phone service would really depreciate to a significant level here. What the IRS was able to do is they put out hiring notices to fill about 4,500 full-time contact service representative jobs, but they quickly pulled those positions down, and then they had a different hiring announcement for about 2,000 positions that are seasonal hires. So they can only stick around at the agency for up to 4 years, that they can get those seasonal jobs renewed for up to 4 years, but they wouldn't be full-time career positions at the agency. So again, there's a significant shrinkage of the IRS workforce, and perhaps a sign of where things stand in terms of operations for the agency. They did stay open the days before and after Christmas, even though President Donald Trump gave many federal employees those days off. There are, of course, caveats to that executive order that allowed agencies to stay open if they had a mission-critical need to do so, and the IRS said, all right, any volunteers will offer you holiday pay if you decide to stick around and continue working.
Jory, you're talking predominantly here about customer-facing folks. What about the back office side, especially the IT workforce? So much of IRS's work hinges on ancient information technology.
Yeah, some of the oldest running IT systems in the federal government reside at the IRS, and it takes a team of thousands to keep those systems running 24/7, 365. And there's been a major shakeup of the IRS IT organization at this time, where it's really the 11th hour for them getting everything ready. The IRS recently moved about 1,000 of its IT employees out of its tech shop as part of this reorganization that's been in the works for a matter of months. And there's a lot of questions surrounding this still. The reassigned employees, I've spoken to a number of them. They've been given really few details on what work they'll be doing next. They've been told that they will no longer be working on IRS IT projects. The reorganization went into effect at the end of last month, and employees in the coming days here are really trying to wind down projects. They're trying to tie up loose ends, to hand off work to colleagues of theirs who will remain in IRS IT. And for the time being, these reassigned employees will report to the chief operating officer. Although one other wrinkle here is memos that these employees have received. They've been told that COO reporting structure is only temporary, and that they've actually been told to send in their resumes, their most updated resumes, to the CHICO, the Chief Human Capital Officer, and to see if there's a job anywhere within IRS or Treasury that they would be a good fit to take on.
This sounds like those of us who are planning on a tax rebate might want to have a longer window before we expect to receive that.
That's probably a good idea.
That's Federal News Network's Jory Heckman. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Terry.
You can find his story on federalnewsnetwork.com.